On an overnight train in Budapest, Mrs. Celine got robbed. She is a very wealthy heiress and she inherited a diamond necklace from her great-grandmother, which was the exact piece of jewelry that was robbed. She called the inspector to solve the crime. After interviewing most of the passengers on board the train, the inspector narrowed it down to 3 suspects. Mr. Bruges was an eccentric widower, carrying a mysterious bag. Mr. Blue was one of the waiters on the train, carrying his metallic tray around. And Mr. Pearls was a hoarder, carrying lots of suitcases. Take a look at the images and give it your best shot at solving this crime. Mr. Bruges is just trying to keep his cat safe inside his mysterious bag. He's no criminal. Mr. Pearls is sweating like that because he's carrying all his valuable belongings, so he's really afraid to be robbed. This leaves us Mr. Blue, the true culprit. If you look attentively, he has a diamond necklace poking out from under his metallic tray. The airport police are having a lot of trouble these days. Many convicts escape prison and are trying to leave the country as fast as they can. Take a look at this image. You gotta figure out ASAP who is the fugitive. It's the lady on the right. Although the woman in the wanted poster is blonde, she must have dyed her hair brown to get through security. But her lips and freckles are exactly the same as in the picture. Tess, Ivy, and Monica are in a pretty bad financial rut. They walked into a local supermarket planning on stealing something. What they didn't know was that there was a police officer watching the cameras at the store. Can you figure out who just stole some chips? It was Tess, the first lady. Sure, Ivy is sweating a lot, but she didn't take anything. But look at Tess's hair. She's hiding some chips in that ponytail. For this year's Super Bowl, Taylor decided to invite some friends over to her place. Her house was packed with some of her closest friends. But some random people also crashed the party. Out of nowhere, her friend Jackie screamed she saw a thief amongst them. Someone had stolen her golden bracelet. Take a look at the footage from the party. Sherlock, can you spot the thief? You sure have a good eye if you spot the thief in the middle of the crowd. He was really swift in sneaking behind that woman and stealing her bracelet. Way to go, you! John started his Sunday morning by jogging around the park near his house. When he returned, he found out very unpleasant news. Someone had stolen his car. He questioned 3 of his neighbors. Henry said he had been playing video games for the past 12 hours and hadn't left his basement during all that time. Rosie said she was a gardener and had been planting daisies in the public area all morning. She also said she saw a suspicious man who opened John's car using a knife. Jack said he had seen John's car when he went out for groceries, but when he returned home, it was gone. After listening to the suspects, John immediately knew who had done it. Can you tell who it was? It was Rosie. She said she'd been planting daisies, but look, there are only rose bushes in this area. Bernard is the owner of a meat shop downtown. He sells really expensive meat. As soon as he opened his shop, he had a rush of customers coming in to buy their daily meat. During the rush, he was so busy attending to the customers that he didn't see that someone stole the bacon. Who's the thief here? It's the guy in the suit. The dog is smelling his bag like there's some bacon inside it. He's definitely it. Jane was playing a video game when she was swallowed by the game. The next thing she knows, she's facing 3 mischievous robots. One of them stole her game controller, so she can't go back to her own reality. You gotta help Jane figure out which robot stole her controller. So far, you know that Robot A said, "B is the thief," and that the real thief always tells the truth. Can you solve this mystery with such little information? Robot C is the culprit. Let's check it out really quickly. If A was telling the truth, then it would be the thief. But it's impossible because A claims that B is the thief. B is also not the thief since A's claim that B is the thief is a lie. This just leaves us with the last option, Robot C. Betty was traveling across France. One night, she gave herself a treat by booking a table at an expensive restaurant. She was halfway through dinner when an elderly woman approached her. The woman said she looked a lot like her daughter and asked her for a favor. Since she hadn't spoken to her daughter for ages, she asked Betty to say, "Goodbye, Mother," as she left the restaurant. Betty thought it was super strange, but agreed. Soon after, she received the shock of her life. Guess what it was and share your 2 cents with us below. Betty was surprised with the bill which belonged to the elderly woman. She had asked the waiter to collect the bill from her daughter. Uh-oh, Betty. Can't believe you fell for that. Anna sat down to watch her favorite TV show. She made some popcorn, turned on the TV, and nestled comfortably to binge-watch an entire season. Her cat Pepper sat down next to her. But after 5 minutes of screen time, Anna suddenly passed out. Take a look at the image. Can you guess what happened there? Anna's cat, Pepper, got scared with a loud thump that came from the TV. It jumped on top of Anna and it scared the life out of her. That's why she passed out. The customer was saying that he had ordered soup, while the waiter was saying that he had only ordered tea. Henry saw something that immediately showed him who was lying. Prove to us that you've got the sharpest eye and find out what Henry saw. The customer is the one who's lying. Behind him, there's a huge sign that says the restaurant only serves soup from 1 to 4 p.m. Since it was 8 p.m. in the evening, the waiter would have never accepted the customer's order in the first place. It was a lovely spring morning, so Margaret decided to take her kids to the park for some fresh air. While the kids played in the grass, Margaret decided to catch up on her reading. She left her bag right beside her, next to a stranger. In a few minutes, she noticed the bag was stolen. We need your detective skills here. Can you figure out who the thief was? The person came out from the bush behind the bench where Margaret was seated. He was so quick it was nearly impossible to see him. Yikes! Robbie was invited to a typical college party. A lot of his friends were there, but there were also some random people. Out of nowhere, the lights went dark, and before he knew it, Robbie was waking up with a vampire bite on his neck. Take a look at some footage from the beginning of the party. Who's a vampire here? It's the guy on the corner. Look at the mirror. He has no reflection. He must be the vampire.
Sarah and Barbara are in grave danger. They've been locked up at a high-security prison for over a month. One day, a fire starts at the wing where they're located, and the guards flee the scene before helping them out. Take a look at these images. If you have any clue which one of them will get out of there alive, let us know. They both have it pretty rough, but Sarah, the woman on the left, is the one who will be able to escape. She can use one of the sticks from her hair to open the lock on her cell and run as fast as she can. Mandy and Sunny have pretty adventurous spirits. They love jumping off really high places with their skateboard and mountain bikes.
Yes!
One Saturday morning, Mandy went skating, and when she arrived at the jump, her board slipped on a banana peel. That same morning, Sunny went biking, and when she jumped, she noticed she was going to land on a dog.
No!
You gotta tell us which of these ladies is in an extremely life-threatening situation and which one is just in for a scare. Drop your comment below. Mandy is probably just going to have an adrenaline peak with that banana peel in her way, but Sunny is in real danger. There's no way to predict how this dog is going to react. If it decides to attack her, she's in for a tough ride. Ben needed to get across a park in the middle of the night. That area was a dangerous place and lots of robberies happened there, but he went anyway. He walked fast until, out of nowhere, a hooded man came up to him and knocked him out. He woke up after a few hours and noticed all his belongings were gone. Ben went to the closest police station to file a report. When he got there, the police were interrogating 3 suspects, Cole, Jerry, and Bernard. They were all in the park that night. The detective gave each of them a marker and asked them to write their names on a whiteboard. As soon as they finished, he immediately arrested the right person. Can you figure out how on earth did the detective know who was guilty based on this random test? What's your 2 cents on this one? The test wasn't all that random after all. Ben was hit from the right side, so the police were trying to figure out who was left-handed. And among these 3 guys, the only left-handed one is Jerry.
Oh no.
After a terrible day at work, Brian went on a movie date with Jane. As she walked towards him, he saw a woman snatch Jane's purse and disappear with it into the building of the movie theater. Jane didn't have time to see the woman's face, but she scratched the woman's arm with her long nails.
Oh no.
The couple walked into the cinema and immediately spotted Jane's bag. It was on a bench between 2 women. As they approached the bench, both suspects stood up and walked to the opposite sides of the room. Take a look at the crime scene. Don't let the thief get away with it. Can you figure out who the culprit is?
Hey.
Don't keep it to yourself. Let us know. Since Jane scratched the woman's arm, the thief should have a sore arm. The woman on the left was wearing long sleeves, so she probably wouldn't get hurt. The woman on the right is trying to hide a red scratch mark with her other hand. Yup, looks like she's the one who did it. On a moonless night, Emma decides to watch a horror movie before going to bed. She passes out on her couch, and the next thing she knows, she wakes up in a haunted castle. She hears screeching sounds all over the place and screams in the distance. She walks carefully to the kitchen where she finds 4 suspicious plates ready to be eaten. She's starving, so bad that her stomach is growling. Take a look at the plates. You know you'll only find peace again if you can help Emma figure out which one of these plates isn't dangerous. Take your best guess and let us know below. Take a look at the soup. There are a couple of human eyeballs in it, which is definitely a no-go. The steak is half rotten already, and there are real-life spiders crawling all over the burger. The pasta looks the least harmful out of these options. Betty and her younger sister were kidnapped by a town villain. They woke up in a dark basement filled with many corridors. The villain left them alone for a while, and they took that chance to try to find an exit. They ran all over the place until they realized they were running in circles. Suddenly, from each of the three directions, standing before them, a man appears. Each of them said they were kidnapped too, and they knew the way out. But your suspicion tells you that only one of them is telling the truth, while the other two are probably working for the villain and will take you back as a hostage. Stop everything you're doing now and help Betty and her sister decide which men they should trust. If you have an eye for detail, you probably noticed that the second man has bruises on his arms. He probably really did escape from the evil man. Betty and her sister should trust this dude and run away with his help. Daisy and Pam got late for work due to the snowstorm that hit their town. Their bosses told them if they were a second late, they would get fired. So both women decided to walk to work through the storm. Daisy decided to take a shortcut through the woods, and Pam decided she would cross the frozen lake. Daisy ran into a mother bear with her small cub, while the lake started to crack right under Pam's feet. If you're as good a detective as I think you are, can you guess which of these ladies is in grave danger? Do share your thoughts. Sure, Daisy is in a pickle, but she can stand her ground until the mother bear and her cub pass along, I hope. Yes. But Pam is in serious danger. The lake cracked with her weight, and if she walked any further, she'd probably fall straight into the freezing water. A robber is striking again. He is creeping into neighborhood houses in the middle of the night, taking very expensive items from people's houses. On the first night, he stole a refrigerator from Ronnie's house. And then, on the following night, he snuck into Brendan's house and stole his fancy table. He managed to sneak into Bruce's condo and stole a designer chair. The same night, he stole a microwave from Gunther's house. The robber is planning to rob Phoebe's house next. Do you think he's most likely to steal a mixer, a juicer, a TV set, or her bicycle? Quick! Share with us your take before other bright side detectives figure it out. If you figured out the correct pattern, you know that the robbers steal stuff according to their colors and the initials of a person's name. That's why he stole a red refrigerator from Ronnie and a gray microwave from Gunther. That means he's going to steal a purple mixer from Phoebe. Mike, Bob, and Percy were planning on proposing to their high school sweethearts at today's ball. They prepared everything, from the ring to the song that was going to play when the three of them popped the question. The night felt strange, and one of the guys was in extreme danger. Take a look at the couples. Jump in the comments with your guess of which one of them might lose their life if he proposes. It's Bob. Look at his partner's reflection on that mirror across the room. She's actually a witch disguised as Bob's girlfriend. He's in grave danger.
On a winter day, a man was standing in the middle of someone's front yard. The person stayed there for several weeks without moving, and the owner of the yard didn't mind. Eventually, the man left. Who was the man? It was a snowman, of course. He left a couple of weeks later when the temperature went up. Over winter break, 5 best friends each did different activities in different cities. Can you find out each friend's full name, what they did, and where they went? Their first names are Julie, Megan, David, Fred, and Sam. Their last names are Wallace, Thompson, Mallard, Shields, and Drake. Their preferred activities are a ski trip, moving to another place, a cruise, cooking classes, and visiting relatives. The places where they went are Houston, Paris, Cleveland, Vancouver, and Miami. And now, there's a bit more info you might need. 1. Julie and Miss Wallace were sad that David wasn't coming back. 2. Neither Sam nor Julie had ever left the US before this winter break. 3. All the first names that have 2 syllables belong with the last names that have 2 syllables. Nobody's last name starts with the same letter as their first name. 4. Miss Mallard is excited to learn about French cuisine. 5. Mr. Thompson doesn't want to move. 6. The friends, in no particular order, are as follows. The girl who is going on a ski trip, Mr. Shields, Megan, the boy headed to Houston, and Julie. 7. Cruises can only be taken in warm coastal cities. Ski trips can only be taken in cold, mountainous places. Remember that this winter. 8. The cruise ship Fred is traveling on does not dock in Houston. Also keep in mind that Sam can be a boy's or girl's name. In this case, it's short for Samantha. Julie Mallard takes cooking classes and she went to Paris. Megan Wallace moved to Cleveland. David Thompson visited his relatives in Houston. Fred Shields went on a cruise in Miami. Sam Drake took a ski trip in Vancouver. It's 1962, and you're traveling to Innsbruck, Austria, to see the Winter Olympics. When you arrive at the stadium, nobody is there. You ask a passerby, "Why isn't anyone here for the Winter Olympics?" The man answers your question. You both laugh at your silly mistake, and you go back home. What did the passerby tell you? He told you that the Winter Olympics wouldn't start until 1964. There are a few airplanes on the island. The tank of each airplane contains just enough fuel to fly halfway around the world. Any amount of fuel can be transferred from one plane to another while in the air. The only source of fuel is on the island. It's assumed that all the planes burn fuel at the same rate and fly at the same speed. What is the smallest number of airplanes needed to ensure that one plane flies all the way around the world? All the planes should return safely to the island. Only 3 planes are needed. Planes A, B, and C leave the island together. After flying 1/8 of the distance, Plane C transfers 1/4 of the contents of its tank to Plane A and 1/4 to Plane B. This leaves C with 1/4 of its fuel, which is just enough to get back to the island. Planes A and B continue for another 1/8 of the way. Plane B then transfers 1/4 of the contents of its tank to Plane A. Plane B now has half a tank of fuel left, which is enough to go back to the island. Plane A now has a full tank and continues to fly until it runs out of fuel, which occurs when it's 1/4 of the way to the island. It is met by Plane C, which has already been refueled. Plane C transfers 1/4 of its tank to Plane A, and they both head home. Planes A and C run out of fuel when 1/8 of the way to the island is left. Luckily, they're met by Plane B, which has been refueled too. Plane B transfers 1/4 of its tank to each of the two planes, and the three aircraft now have enough fuel to get home. Two 50-foot ropes are suspended from a 40-foot ceiling 20 feet apart. You have only a knife. How much of the rope can you steal? Almost all of it. First, tie the ropes together at the ends. Then, climb one of the ropes. Make a loop as close to the ceiling as possible. While hanging from the loop, cut the rope just below it. But don't drop it, otherwise you'll be stuck up there. Run the rope through the loop and tie it to your waist. Swing over to the other rope and pull the rope that's going through the loop tight. Cut the other rope as close to the ceiling as possible, holding tight to the end of it. Once the rope is loose, you will swing down below the loop. Let yourself down to the ground by letting the rope out. At the bottom, untie yourself and pull the rope completely through the loop. At this point, you'll have all the rope except what was used to tie the loop. You find yourself trapped in a medieval castle far away from civilization. It's freezing outside. You can't jump out the window because it's too high above the ground, and even snowdrifts won't make the jump softer. The only tree growing near the window doesn't look sturdy enough for you to climb down. However, there are 3 doors, one of which can lead you to freedom. But behind the first door, there's a fierce fire. The second door holds back hundreds of venomous snakes. And behind the third door, there's a pitch-dark maze, and you can only imagine what surprises are waiting for you there. Which door should you choose? The third one. You'll just need to break off a tree branch, turn it into a torch by lighting it in the first room, and go through the maze, which wouldn't be dark anymore. When Mary came to work after a winter break, she realized that the office had been robbed.
Oh, no.
The night guard said he had been patrolling the building when he'd heard suspicious noises. When he got there, he saw that the office door was wide open, and so was the safe. The man also added that he had looked out of the window and noticed someone get in a car. But the sun blinded him, and he didn't manage to see who it was. Mary instantly called the police. Why? There's no sun at night, so it couldn't have blinded the night guard. He must have invented the whole story to help the criminals. Or is he the thief himself? Tina and Timothy loved adventures. Once, they decided to check out an ancient castle in Greenland that was said to belong to a witch. That witch used snow to perform her magic and could turn into any object and copy anyone's appearance. In the castle, they used torches to light their way.
Oh, no.
All of a sudden, their torches went out. Tina got terribly scared. But then, the torches lit again, and she saw 2 husbands of hers in front of her. Can you tell who is her real husband? It's the man on the right. He has 5 fingers, like a regular human. The man on the left has 4 fingers, so it must be the witch. An anonymous person called the police and told them that a notorious criminal had come back to the town. The next day, they called the police once again to report the screams they had heard. They had been coming from an abandoned house. The police rushed there. They broke in and saw 3 tied-up men. They figured out that one of them must have been the criminal. One of the officers said that he knew exactly who the criminal was. Can you spot them? Look at the man on the left. Can you see a phone in his pocket? A true criminal would never let their victim use a phone. Take him, officer!
Hey, look at these couples. Can you spot anything weird here? Seems like the only real wife is the one on the right. She looks grumpy, but she is authentically human. Meanwhile, the lady on the left must be a robot. Just look at her legs. A local bank's money was stolen right in the middle of the day. But no one noticed that. Several days later, the room where the money used to be stored was found completely empty. There was just one note saying 7718. The police arrested 3 suspects, Bill, Jeff, and Cody. But the officers didn't know which of them was guilty. They invited a famous detective to crack the mysterious case. And the detective managed to decipher the note immediately. Can you do it too? So, turn the paper upside down. This way, the numbers turn into a name, Bill. The man wants to enter an exclusive club, but he doesn't know the password. Another man walks up to the entrance. The doorman says 12, and the man says 6, and is allowed to enter. Another man approaches. The doorman says 6, the man says 3, and the doorman lets him in. Thinking he's heard enough, our guy walks to the door. When the doorman says 10, he says 5. But he isn't allowed to enter. What should he have said? Three. The correct answer is the number of letters in the word the doorman says. Martin was a robber. One day he was trying to escape from the police after robbing a bank. He had 3 gold bars in his arms, each weighing 20 pounds. Ooh. The only way to get away was to cross a bridge, which could only support 220 pounds. The 3 bars of gold weigh 60 pounds, and Martin weighed 180 pounds. Could he cross the bridge without getting rid of any of the bars? Now, Martin can't leave a bar of gold and come pick it up later, so the only solution is to make those bars fly. To make it happen, Martin must juggle them. This way, only 2 bars will add extra weight to the bridge, while the third one will always remain airborne. Voila! 180 plus 20 plus 20 equals 220, so the bridge can totally handle it. However, Martin couldn't handle it because he couldn't juggle, and the police got their man. A thief entered a high-end boutique and forced the shop assistant to open the safe. The shop assistant said, "The code for the safe is different every day, and if you harm me, you'll never get the code." But the thief managed to guess the code on his own. How did he do it? The thief was smart. The code to the safe was the word different, just as the shop assistant said. A wealthy businessman, Mr. Ben Swift, was taken away and locked up in a dark room. His phone had almost no charge. He could only send one message. He knew that someone could be spying on his phone, so he decided to send a message with a code to a high school friend, John Smith, who had a detective agency. He remembered that in high school, they would cipher messages to each other, replacing each letter with the one to the left. So he sent this. Can you guess what it means? It's not gibberish. Once you decipher it, the message reads accountant, so it seems his accountant is to blame. You're wandering through the jungle when, all of a sudden, you see a magnificent ancient castle. You enter it and see its inhabitants. It's kind of hard to say if they're friendly or not, but hey, look, they've just fetched you some snacks. Still, you can tell from their grins that these snacks might be a trap for you. You can't say no to them and need to choose something to eat. There are 4 muffins in front of you. They all look yummy and your mouth is watering. One of the inhabitants, who seems to be the leader, tells you that the first muffin has some fermented cabbage inside. The second is swarming with live ants. The third has mud instead of chocolate cream. And the fourth one has aki fruit inside. So, which dessert should you opt for? A muffin with fermented cabbage may sound weird, but it's safe to eat. You've tried fermented cabbage, aka kimchi, before and you loved it. For those who love unusual stuff, the fourth muffin is okay too. Aki fruit is delicious when cooked properly. As for the ants and mud muffins, I'd pass. Lucy is a nail technician. Her services are free to anyone who wants to set up an appointment. However, most people still end up paying her. How so? Lucy only does one hand for free, so most people who come end up paying the full price. They don't want to look weird with their nails done only on one hand. Poor Kathy lived with a stepmother and 3 wicked stepsisters. Her dream was to go to a lit party, which she had been waiting for a year. Her stepmother, Eveline, never let Kathy go anywhere. But this time, Eveline decided to let Kathy go as soon as she had finished with all her tasks. The stepmother asked Kathy to bring her some water, but she gave her a colander to carry the water. How can Kathy bring the water if she has nothing but a colander? Kathy needs to freeze some water and put it in the colander. It'll take some time to melt. When Eveline gets that colander full of ice, technically, it'll be full of water. Jeremy got lost while driving, so he found the nearest town and decided to spend the night in a hotel. After checking in, he went to the restaurant. Suddenly, the lights went off and everyone fell asleep. The next morning, Jeremy had a terrible headache and he couldn't remember anything. Look at these 2 photos. They were taken before and after the lights went out. Can you guess what happened? Look, there are some balloons in the first photo, but none in the second one. They must have been filled with sleeping gas. Someone wanted everyone to sleep. Jenny went grocery shopping and bought a lot of milk, yogurt, meat, and cheese. When she came back home, she realized that she had nowhere to store all these products as her fridge was already full. How can she save all the food she bought? Jenny needs to revise the stuff in her fridge. Look, there's a pack of rice, some chips, and even cookies. These products don't need to be stored in the fridge. Once she takes them out of the fridge, she'll have enough space to store the dairy products and meat she bought. Twiggy's got her 2 piggies. Alex grooves with his 2 wolves. And Tony has a pony. They're all on the shore of a vast and dangerous river. They need to get across, and there's only one small raft nearby. But it's not as simple as it might seem. There are 5 rules the guys need to follow. Rule number 1, the raft can only carry 2 of them. Number 2, only humans can row. Number 3, the piggies can't ride with Alex unless Twiggy is around. Number 4, the wolves can't ride with Twiggy without Alex. And finally, number 5, the pony can only ride with Tony. How can they all get across? First, they need Tony on board. He needs to take one of the wolves across the river. The rules don't prohibit it. When he comes back, Alex takes the second wolf across the river. Then Alex goes back alone. Twiggy joins him and they go to the other bank, where Twiggy leaves Alex and goes back alone. She gives the raft to Tony and his pony and they go to the other bank. When they reach it, Alex takes the raft and goes back to pick up Twiggy. He picks her up, they go back, and Twiggy leaves Alex there. After that, she goes back to pick up her pigs one by one. Finally, I thought this was never going to end. Hey! Alright, wake up your brain, let's go. A man is trapped in a room that only has two possible exits. The first door leads to a room made out of magnifying glass. The blazing hot sun instantly fries anything or anyone that enters that place. Behind the second door, a fire-breathing dragon is hiding. Does the man have any chance to escape unharmed? Well, he just needs to wait until nighttime and then leave through the first door. This princess urgently needs your help. Can you help her find her frog prince among all these other frogs? Look, the princess is carrying a picture of the frog she's looking for. It can help you spot the right one. Here he is in the bottom right corner. I come out every night without being called. I am lost in the day without being stolen. What am I? If you think it's a star, you're absolutely right. I have a speed of almost 100 miles per hour, but I don't leave the room. You can cover me, but it won't prevent me from continuing ahead. I don't plan my visits. I can arrive at any moment at any time of the year. What am I? I'm a sneeze. Each of the 5 neighborhood dogs is enjoying one of the following activities: getting its ears scratched, playing catch, taking a nap, hiding a chew toy, and going for a walk. Pepper is either playing catch or hiding a chew toy. Neither Ginger nor Saber nor Bear is on a walk. One of the dogs named after a spice is getting its ears scratched. A dog not named after a spice is playing catch. Bear is getting some exercise. Can you figure out what each pooch is doing? Saber is taking a nap. Ginger is getting its ears scratched. Nutmeg is going for a walk. Pepper is hiding a chew toy. And Bear is playing catch. The combined weight of a cat and a guinea pig is 10 pounds. The weight of a dog and a guinea pig is 20 pounds. And the weight of a cat and dog is 24 pounds. Can you figure out how much each of the animals weighs and determine their common weight? The cat weighs 7 pounds, the guinea pig weighs 3 pounds, and the weight of the dog is 17 pounds. It means all animals will weigh 27 pounds. Ben and Grace are having a party. They're both preparing meals at the same time. Grace is at the grill and Ben is in the kitchen, but one of them is doing something wrong. Who is it? It's Ben. His stove is off. Then how is he cooking? 5 friends came to Kim's sleepover party. When it got too late, Kim's mom told them to go to bed. But sometime later, the woman heard some noise coming from the room. When she went to check, she saw that one of the windows was open. All of the teens were in their beds and seemed to be sleeping. but someone must have left the room and come back. Who was it? It was the girl on the left. Look, she's wearing her shoes, indicating she went outside and then returned indoors. What can be measured even though it has no length, width, or height? It's temperature. Take me out of a window and I leave a grieving wife. But stick me in a door and I can save someone's life. What am I? It's the letter N. John asked his friend Thomas how many children there were in his family. Thomas answered in a bizarre way, 2 pairs of twins twice. Can you figure out what he meant? In simple words, there are 8 children in Thomas's family. Look at this brain teaser closely. Can you figure out which part is missing? It's part A. Your friends come to congratulate you on your birthday. They have a great gift for you, but you can't get it so easily. First, you need to figure out the password to a combination lock. Luckily, your friends have some hints for you. Here, number 1 is correct and in the right place. 1 number is correct, but is in the wrong place in this combination. 2 numbers are correct, but in the wrong place. There are no correct numbers here. And in this combination, 1 number is correct, but in the wrong place. Can you open the combination lock and get your gift? The code you need is 394. Julia took part in a cooking competition. She decided to prepare her favorite muffins. She did her best and the muffins looked great. But when the jury members tried them, they started to make faces and sputter. It turned out someone had replaced the sugar with salt in the process of cooking. The girl understood she had lost her chance to become the winner. But at least she could figure out who had done it to her. She had 3 other competitors. Wayne told her he hadn't even been there. He forgot to buy several ingredients and did some last-minute shopping. Amber said that she had been preparing the icing for her cake. And Diana told Julia that she had been very busy with the recipe. It was complicated, and she had to follow it precisely. Very soon, Julia knew who had spoiled her muffins. And have you figured it out? It was Amber. She said she had been preparing the icing, but her cake is only sprinkled with some powdered sugar. Nancy was angry with her boyfriend Paul and sent him an email saying she was going to break up with him. But just an hour after sending the message, the girl found out Paul had done nothing wrong. Now she needed to delete the email from his computer. The girl knew Paul was at work, so she sneaked into his house. But the computer was protected by a password. Nancy thought the word she needed could be her name. Paul loved her very much after all. But the girl was wrong. And then an idea came to her mind. She typed in a word, and this time it was correct. Look at what Nancy saw on the screen and try to figure out the password. The password was 67683. These numbers correspond with the letters of Nancy's name. Dennis called the police and told them a large sum of money had disappeared from his dorm room. He thought the thief was one of his neighbors. The police arrived and questioned the guy's neighbors. Deborah, a designer, told the officers, "I had to finish an important project. That's why I pulled an all-nighter. When I sent the final version to the client in the morning, I went to bed and only woke up when you came." Aaron, a waiter, said, "I've had a very long shift today because one of my colleagues got ill. I haven't seen Dennis since yesterday." And Nathan, a vet, said, "I've just come back home. One of my patients called and told me he felt unwell. I had to hurry to the hospital where he was and stay with him." The police officers immediately understood who was lying. And you? It was Nathan who had taken the money. He lied about a patient calling him. He's a vet. Look at these three young ladies. Can you figure out who the cat belongs to? The owner of the cat is the blonde girl. She has the animal tattooed on her ankle. See? John was hungry. He took something, threw away the outside, and cooked the inside. Then he ate the outside and threw away the inside. What snack did he have? He had an ear of corn. Jason arrived at a hotel. He told the receptionist his name and received the key to his room and a note. There were just 3 letters there, F, B, and D. After some thinking, the guy understood what his room number was. Do you know it too? It's room 624. F is the 6th letter of the alphabet, B is the 2nd, and D is the 4th. Look at this picture very closely. Can you figure out who the owner of this cute puppy is? The man on the left is holding a toy, but it's not a chew toy. It's actually his son's. The man on the right seems to have the same vibe as the pooch. But the real owner is the man in the middle. The puppy has a green bandana tied around his neck, and the man has the same bandana wrapped around his wrist.